everybody, and welcome to today's Monday Night Raw review. This Raw obviously starting at 8 a.m. in the US, and because they are in Perth, Australia, we had an insane Monday Night Raw and a Raw that I don't think nobody was expecting to be this good. We had matches that absolutely banged, and we also had a turn of a lifetime in Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and Paul Heyman turning on Seth Rollins. So let's just hop right into it. We're going to go in chronological order, going exactly in order of everything that happened on Monday Night Raw. So let's hop into it. Started off with Seth Rollins opening. He says, or he comes out with the rest of the division as well as Paul Heyman. He would brag about being the best world heavyweight champion of all time, in which Braun, Bronson, and Paul would clap for him and smile and look like nothing was happening. Rollins would say the difference between him and everyone else is that he hasn't needed anyone to have success. So saying that he didn't need Braun, he didn't need Bronson, he didn't need Paul, and that's what he said next. He said that he would literally just straight up say he didn't need Braun, he didn't need Bronson, he didn't need Paul. He did all of this. He made himself great before WrestleMania, which we know he joined up with Paul Heyman, and that was interesting to see because he said he won at WrestleMania without Paul Heyman's help, which is a lie. Paul literally helped him win. He hit Roman and Punk with the low blow and joined Rollins' team where Rollins had a full chair shot on each of them. So, a little bit of a lie here. Obviously, he did have Paul's help, but no Braun or Bronson. We know Braun joined at the Raw after WrestleMania, and then Bronson obviously joined at a PLE later this year or earlier this year. So, I don't know. That line right there definitely caught me a little bit off guard just because it was not true. He would say that okay, hold on. He would say that he has chosen the men in the ring. So he's chosen Braun, he's chosen Bronson, he's chosen Paul. So he said he didn't need them, but he's wanting to bring them up. So that was interesting to hear as well. But the segment would end with Rollins holding the title high, but Braun was looking at him. He was looking at the ground and looking at Rollins, scratching his head, and he looked like unsure and confused, and he was just like, he just looked weird. He just looked like he didn't understand what was happening. So that was cool to see as well. So, great start to the show, but seeing how Braun acted, I did see it, as well as after this, we see Braun walk out, and he was completely behind Paul Heyman, Seth Rollins, and Bronson Reed. He was lacking behind super far back. First thing I noticed from this, or first thing I thought of this, was maybe he was signing something, maybe he was getting pictures, whatever, but it didn't look like it. He was still looking at the ground and looking like he didn't know what to do, so that kind of made me alert, like what's really going on. We would then see Dominic Mysterio defend his Intercontinental Championship against Penta in a match that I thought was really cool. We saw fast pace to kick it off. Dominic matched Penta's style, high flying style, kicking style, and I thought that was really cool. Penta would go for the Three Amigos, which the crowd would boo. The crowd was booing Penta, and they were cheering for Dominic, which is another reason why I think WWE should break up Dominic in the Judgment Day, because, yes, Dominic is super good in the Judgment Day, and it fits him well for sure, but I think that the fans are super behind him now. He's the IC champion. He's going into a match with Rusev next week, so I think that if anything, even with him cheating to win this match with the Hammer, he's still one of the most likable heels in WWE right now. And at this point, he isn't even a heel because he's entertaining the fans cheering for him. So I think that it's really cool to see how he is just taking it in, and it's just like nothing's happening. It's really cool to see. But we would see Dominic kick out of the Penta driver, which is interesting to see. But mid-match, Rusev would run down the ramp and Penta would meet him with a suicide dive. So that would be pretty cool. While he was doing that, Dominic would distract the ref with the IC title and put it at the ref's feet so he would look at it. And then Dominic would put the hammer, take it out of his foot, hit Penta in the knee, and then put it in his boot and hit the 619 to win the match. So that was really cool. Dominic retains the championship, and it was later announced that he will be facing Rusev next week for that IC title, in which he would make a valid point later in the show, saying how does all these other champions not have to defend every week, but I do. That's a valid point. All these champions are either defending on just PLEs or barely defending them at all, and Adam Pearce said, you got a good point. Let's make the Judgment Day put their titles on the line. So how is Dominic going to go to Finn Balor and JD McDonough and explain to them why they have a tag match next week? I hope we play into that, but we might not. I really hope we do, though, because it'd be really exciting and really cool to see how Dominic explains how they got this title match, or if he just straight up lies to them. One thing I am wanting to see with Dominic as well is What's the relationship between him and El Grande Americano? Is that relationship still happening? Are we still seeing them hang out on the weekly? Or is it over now? I'm excited. I'm intrigued to see what else happens. But it's cool to hear because we can make a point that Rusev did cost Penta, and I think that Dominic is defending next week, but makes me very confused because I think that Penta will cost Rusev this week. So I think it'll be same finish, different opponent. That's my pick at least. We would see after Kairi Sane would show Asuka her forehead bruise. Asuka would slap her, and that would get into Rhea versus Kairi. So Asuka would go up to Kairi and tell her she has a match against Rhea tonight. Kairi would show her a bruise on her forehead, and that was insane. And then Asuka would slap her for the second time. Kairi is getting abused. What is going on? Kairi is doing this not on her own will. Somebody's got to get her out of this. It can't be Io, but there is some sort of way that you could get Io in there and getting Kairi out of this abusive relationship with Asuka. But how would you do it? I don't know a way we could do it. Asuka does not want anything to do with Io, but Kairi's always going back to the narrative that we can bring Io back into the family. You know, so there's always that open space that we could do here with Asuka and Io and Kairi, but that leaves Rhea out as a lone wolf. And I think that right here, obviously, we're not going to leave Rhea off of TV, which is something that I've always been annoyed with. Yes, she's one of our top stars in the women's division. She's practically what's holding the women's division together on Monday Night Raw. But at some point, you're going to have to put her off TV for a little bit, and this would be the perfect way to do it because they absolutely obliterated her after the match. Rhea would face Kairi, where we would see Io come out with Rhea. We would see Asuka and Kairi lay out Io and Rhea on the outside to send us to commercial. We would get back. Kairi would hit the insane elbow to a standing Rhea Ripley on the outside, and then Rhea would hit a nice transition into the Razor's Edge, plus a big old knee, and then we would see the Riptide to pin Kairi Sane, which is going to cause problems. So Rhea beating Kairi is going to cause more problems because Asuka does not want Kairi losing. Kairi's been taking L after L after L, and that's not doing anything good for the Kabuki Warriors. So it's going to be interesting to see how Asuka reacts to that and how Kairi explains it. Same thing with Dominic. So I'm excited to see where we're going from here. After the match where it really gets crazy, we see Asuka and Kairi. We see Rhea about to put Asuka through the announcer's table, but we would see Kairi come up with a barb, or not a barb, I'm thinking of Crown Jewel. We see her come up with a kendo stick and hit Rhea with the kendo stick, which Asuka would take advantage and hit Rhea with the DDT. So, not bad. Not a bad way to end it at all. We would see Jimmy Uso tell Jey Uso that he is confused while Roman Reigns is mad at them by helping him. We know that Roman Reigns obviously not happy at Jimmy and Jey for helping him at Crown Jewel, so that was very interesting to see. Still did not see Roman Reigns on today's Monday Night Raw, but Jey would say that it's either going to go Roman's way or Roman's way, and that him losing at Clash at Paris, at the end of the day, was Roman Reigns' fault. So that was crazy. But then we would see Jimmy get mad at what Jey was saying and take it the completely wrong way and then storm off. So we know this is not going to cause any issues, to be honest. I would love to think that it will, but it's just not. That would lead into Bronson versus Jimmy Uso. Jimmy would go after Bronson early, but in the end, Bronson would win while Braun Breaker was celebrating with Bronson. He would turn back around and spear Jimmy multiple times until eventually Jey would come out and try to save Jimmy again. He took a little while and looked a bit hesitant, but that's what you're going to get whenever they're literally going after each other and literally just like going back and forth every single week. At some point, you're going to have to stop coming to help him, but twin brother have to. So there's always going to be that narrative. Like I said in the last Turnbuckle Talk, either that or our SmackDown review, it's always going to be the narrative of Jey helping Jimmy or Jimmy helping Jey or them helping Roman. It's always going to be there because they're family. That's just what you're going to get. So it was all right. I wasn't mad at this match. I think the storyline building is definitely okay. I just wish there was a way that Jimmy could be mad at Jey, like 2020 and everything like that. We would then see Lyra Valkyria tell Bayley before their tag match, and Lyra would ask Bayley if she can trust her and if she can do anything with her due to her recent mood swings of her being a double-sided character. But during that match, they would actually have, complete connection, everything like that. One thing that I did want to mention was her attire. This is a completely different attire for Bayley, which makes me wonder if, we're going to see Bayley, obviously going through character changes. And we still have to pick one character. We cannot do this double-sided thing for too much longer. But I do think that eventually, especially with this attire right here, maybe this tells us we're getting face Bayley. I would love to see that because tonight it was really cool. We would see Bayley be on the ropes and Lyra would slap her. Not an aggressive slap, but something to get your head back in the game. Bayley does that. She attacks Roxanne and Raquel, and we ended up seeing Bayley pick up the victory by hitting the rose plant to Roxanne. Them winning, really exciting. So, interesting to see. I think that's what's going to be the narrative of Monday Night Raw for the next couple of weeks is interesting. Building up to the next PLE, building up everywhere like this, it's just going to be that way. We would see Seth Rollins backstage, and he would say that the last 6 months has been nothing but smiles. Rollins, obviously, 6 months ago, teaming with Paul, or coming together with Paul Heyman at WrestleMania. He says, but that is the thing that's compared to the next 6 months. So he said the next 6 months are going to blow these last 6 months out the water. And he says, or Braun Breaker would come up, and Rollins would congratulate Braun and Bronson for laying out Jimmy and Jay. And we would see Rollins say that marrying his wife and having his daughter, after that would be seeing how much Bronson and Braun has grew. So Rollins really taking into account how appreciative he is of Bronson and Braun. We know they did not care too much about that because the opener was already sticking with him a little bit too much. So now you take it as Braun getting out his anger on Jimmy and Jay for what he saw in the opener of Rollins completely disrespecting them. So that was cool. Jackie Redmond would announce that she would announce Stephanie Vauquer. We would see her come out and she would say that she was the first ever woman in WWE history to hold 4 titles in 1 year. So that's cool. We would see Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez come out. Raquel would ask Stephanie why she is celebrating over a title that she should have never won. Roxanne would say that she was the last one to beat Io Sky before WrestlePalooza, so that she should have faced her for that title. So that's a valid point as well. We would see Stephanie, or Roxanne obviously won a match. Stephanie says, if you want a match, then do something about it. Roxanne says she'll do it on her own time. I mentioned this, obviously off camera, and that is the equivalent of somebody walking up to you and punching you in the face and you saying that you'll get them back later. Like, I don't know. That didn't sit right with me at all. Obviously, minute detail, but it's something to keep an eye out on because WWE did post it on their YouTube page. Many people think I'm dumb for thinking about this, but it's something to look out for. You know, every time you see something be posted on the YouTube channel of WWE, of the highlights, that means it means something. So them doing this, it means something. So keep an eye out for what's next. We would see in the main event, Jey Uso versus LA Knight versus CM Punk. We would see Jey come out with the entrance and do it again. In the end, CM Punk would win, and he would become the number 1 contender for Rollins' title. After the match, we would see Rollins come out, and Braun runs and spears Jey and LA Knight. Bronson and Braun would beat down CM Punk using a tsunami, a spear, and to stand tall as the show ends. While the show ends, Braun Breaker backs up in the corner, and as soon as Rollins turns around, spears him. He gets up, he goes up to Bronson Reed and said, either you're with me or you're with him. Bronson Reed quickly joins in and hits the tsunami on Seth Rollins, and then we find out where Paul Heyman lays. That's the third step. Paul would lift both the hands of Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker to ultimately say that this is a complete heel turn of his whole entire faction. Seth Rollins has lost his full faction, and the only thing that I'm worried about with this is not what's next for Bronson, not what's next for Braun, but it's what's next for Survivor Series War Games. Obviously, the vision was set to take place as one of the biggest things going into War Games. We know that the big report from Dave Meltzer talking about how we were going to get the Vision and Braun Breaker or Brock Lesnar or Austin Theory versus Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, LA Knight, and CM Punk. But that was interesting. So now the Vision is completely concluded from Survivor Series War Games. Obviously, there's no way they come back together, but it's exciting to see now because who becomes the face? Who becomes the good guys? Is it Paul, Braun, and Bronson? I feel like it can't be, right? Paul has built up too much anger towards the fans that they don't really care for him anymore. Or they boo him. At least everybody loves Paul Heyman, but they boo him, so it can't be that. And Rollins, everybody loves Rollins. Everybody loves Rollins. So I think that Rollins has to become a face, but for me, The second thing that I'm most worried about is what's next for Rollins and War Games. That's it. What does Rollins do? Does Rollins bring in Brock Lesnar to take on Bronson and Braun? That would be my guess, honestly, because that's a past ghost of Paul Heyman. Is really Brock Lesnar was trying to win over Paul so he could join Seth, which that would be insane because Rollins obviously has a history with Brock Lesnar and not a good history. Him beating him in WrestleMania 35, then him winning the title from him. So interesting for sure. I think this Raw was anything but confusing. Everything kind of planned out perfectly, but there were a lot of parts that were just mind-boggling that you didn't know what this could mean. And the main event was definitely something that I was like, what? Like, why? Why? I think that it's always good to hear a change and see a change in WWE programming, but this is a big change. For the last 6 months, Bronson and Braun has been built up as one of the biggest things in pro wrestling, and Rollins has built them along the way. And it's good that we get Paul Heyman going with them so they can still have guidance. But it always felt like Paul Heyman had the leash to Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, and I feel like that it's going to stay that way. But now this puts Paul Heyman into a better role because now he has to be the mouthpiece for Bronson and Braun, and that's what I've always wanted. I love seeing Paul Heyman as the mouthpiece for people. We never really saw it with Roman or Brock, but we mostly saw it with Brock. But then, obviously, Paul being insanely good on the mic, we saw it sometimes, him coming out without Seth and just with the Bronze. So I feel like that was a sneak peek. So now, very good to see. I'm excited to see Paul be the mouthpiece now, or if Braun or Bronson steps up. We know we saw them take the mic from Seth Rollins, so I'm excited to see where all this leads. But Monday Night Raw was absolutely insane. I would have never guessed in 100 years that this would ever happen, but I'm going to get to work on our ratings, watch back these matches, get the ratings ready for Instagram. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all boys in the next one. Deuces.